All right, welcome into a brand new edition of the Desmond Johnson Show, Saturday edition, live here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by my Saturday panel, Hot Rod Funderburk in the house, former NFL tight end Ben Troop, and Ryan Smith. We got a loaded show for you today. NFL previews still going on. We've got the NFC North today, and we also have the AFC East, so we'll preview those. Devils and Deacon Illustrated publisher Conor ONeill will be in the house at the bottom of the hour, right around 11:30. He will be able to help us preview Wake Forest and Duke football, and we'll go through some scores too from around the state in terms of high school football as well. So we're knee deep in it. It's been a busy week, and college football starts off this upcoming Saturday. So we got a lot to discuss. Let's get into it. It's the Desmond Johnson Show.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city needs that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you won't and get your weed wet. I'm going harder than a martyr on the starter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's fourth and inches. I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And welcome into the Desmond Johnson Show, live here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, and of course on YouTube, youtube.com/at Tobacco Road Sports Radio. I'm your host, Desmond Johnson, joined by Hot Rod Funderburk, Ben Troop, and Ryan Smith. Before we get into our NFC talk and our Saturday NFL roundtable, I wanted to give some scores out from last night. Of course, me and Rod did East Forsyth Glen last night, Battle for the Turnersville Cup. East Forsyth won 31-0, shutout victory. Defense looked pretty good last night, and particularly the secondary. They looked very good against the Glen squad that's going to be better than advertised, I think, Rod. They've been kind of down past couple of years, but I think the move down into 6A, they're going to surprise some people in their division, I think. They were put together pretty well from what we saw last night. And now we get to go out to Summerfield next week as East Forsyth will be taking on Northern Guilford. Northern Guilford defeated Reedsville last night, 47-38. How many times have we said that over the past 5 or 6 years? Maybe once, twice. That Reedsville lost like opening week. We're usually talking about them putting up 50 burgers on people like every week. But Northern Guilford outraced them last night, 47-38. We get to go to Northern Guilford next week, Rod. So East Forsyth, Northern Guilford, that's shaping up to be a big one already. Some other scores before we get into it today. Asheville defeated High Point Central 59-0. North Davidson over West Oaks 35-7. Page fell to Charlotte Christian 30-9. Cardinal Gibbons defeated Dudley 34-6 in a kind of an eyeball opening loss there for the Panthers. Walkertown defeats Atkins 55-0. Carver and Parkland rivalry renewed. That was a low scoring affair. Defensive battle. Carver wins 8-6. North Forsyth falls to Reynolds 35-0. They open up the brand new the Crater, the brand new stadium for RJ Reynolds. I'm very happy for that community. They have not had a home football stadium. They've literally had to drive 10 miles away to Deaton Thompson Stadium across town for their home game since really the inception of the school. And now they finally have a stadium on their home campus. And that'll be huge for the businesses around that area, around Haynes Park and all that stuff too. So shout out to the Reynolds Demons and Coach Joe Davidiak for opening up with a win against North Forsyth. Reagan defeated Mount Tabor 14-0. Rockingham County over Southwest Guilford 32-16. Oak Grove beat Ledford 49-0. And West Forsyth defeated Davie County 42-8. I was going to get Chase to come on and talk about that Grimsley West Charlotte game that I actually skipped over, which it was number 1 versus number 2 in the state. Grimsley emerges victorious 28-27 in overtime. If you got a chance to listen to that game on Tobacco Road last night, Chase Williams and Coach Willoughby did a fantastic job. That game, West Charlotte forced overtime right with like 7 seconds to go. And then Grimsley scored first in overtime. West Charlotte matched them, and Coach Sangreer decided to go for 2 to end the game. They did not convert. Grimsley held on, and Grimsley goes on to win. and now are 1-0. So Grimsby will take on West Forsyth next week in Clemens, and we'll have that game as the WTOB game of the week. Let's get into our Saturday roundtable here with the fellas. And guys, I wanted to start off with the NFC North and the Bears in particular, because I don't know if I'm completely 100% sold on Caleb Williams yet. In terms of, at this point, you either kind of are or you aren't, I guess. And I don't know if I got enough to go off of. Some of it's like, I don't know. I feel a certain way about Caleb Williams. I don't trust him, and I don't know if I'm the only one. Let's start off, Rod. Let's start off with you. Do you trust Caleb Williams to lead the Chicago Bears to a division win here? Rod, can you hear us? Rod, can you hear us? I think he might have froze up. Rod, I don't know if you might have froze up or something, but here, let me switch down to Ben. Ben, what do you think about Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears? Do you think that they can contend in the NFC North?
I don't think it's going to be this year. I think the addition of Ben Johnson is definitely going to help Caleb Williams and company, but I think this goes back to what Caleb Williams said before the season and what Ben Johnson said. Ben Johnson was speaking about fundamentals, getting back to taking care of the football, trying to make sure they stand ahead of the chains. And Caleb Williams was talking about being the first ever 4,000-yard passer. That's two different wavelengths coming from the head coach that definitely was able. You saw what he was able to do with a Jared Goff, what he was able to do for an offense like Detroit. It's going to be interesting to see, but I think Caleb Williams has gotten hit so much his rookie year that even I don't think he understands what a clean pocket is. A clean pocket doesn't mean doesn't have pressure. A clean pocket means I have clear vision to see downfield, because you saw some plays in the preseason that was definitely a clear pocket. All he had to do was step up, and he found himself scrambling to the left or to the right, pushing himself out of the pocket. So I'm going to be interested to see what Caleb Williams does. This will be about the neck up more than the skill set from the neck down, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson's relationship, matriculates throughout the course of the season.
Rod, can you hear us now?
I got you now.
There you go. All right, Rod, your thoughts on Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. Do you think that Caleb Williams can take that next step to be an elite quarterback? He was drafted number 1 overall by the Bears going into, this is year 2 for Caleb Williams here?
This is year 2 for him. I'm not so sure he can take the full step this year. What I'm hoping from Caleb Williams is just to see some improvement from last year. I think he's got a great head coach in Ben Johnson, who was a wonderful offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions for the past couple seasons. He's proven that he is a developer of quarterbacks. And I think that's what Caleb Williams needs right now in the NFL. When he was over in USC playing ball, it's a little different in college. The talent level is there in college, but sometimes you can use your feet, you can use your legs, you can use your athletic ability to get away and then make great passes. And sometimes you might catch a defensive back slipping and it looks wide open. And sometimes in college, you look like a better quarterback than what you actually are. But once you move to the NFL level, everyone's a pro, everyone's an All-American. Everyone has every last award that you have, except maybe for the Heisman Trophy. So now you're going against guys who, when you throw that ball, that window is very, very small. And Ben was saying, hey, man, you got to be able to see the lanes that those offensive linemen are able to create for you up front. And you have to know when to pass it. And you can't be late. You have to throw guys open as opposed to waiting till they're open to pass the ball. So my concern with Caleb is, show some improvement this year. If he can show some improvement this year, I think Ben Johnson can grab him and then he'll be able to move forward. And then
we might have lost Rod's audio again. I'm not sure. Chet, I think we lost your audio again, Rod, right there at the very, very end. I'm not sure. It conked out. Can you still hear us? I don't think you can hear us right now. Ryan, I want to move over to you might have to go in and out. I'll tell you the message thing. Ryan, can the Packers take the next step with, I guess this is Jordan Love's, technically, I guess this is 3rd season?
Correct.
Going into it. So, yes. And the Packers looked good when he was out there and healthy. He got banged up early in the year last year. But, the Packers did a pretty good job with him behind the center. What are your expectations for Jordan Love and the Packers, one of the youngest teams in the NFL, can they contend for this division in the NFC North?
Well, winning the division, where me and Ben host, you'll have to tune in next week for our predictions there. But I'm heavily considering this Green Bay team to win this division. Absolutely, Desmond. Jordan Love was injured most of last year. If you remember that Brazil game versus the Eagles, he got injured. And so he was not the same quarterback all throughout the year last year. I think he's fully healthy this year. That defense is pretty underrated over there in Green Bay. And he's got the skill position of players around him. Josh Jacobs at running back. You've got a bevy of receivers with Jalen Reed, Dontavius Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, drafted Matthew Golden from Texas. Detroit is going to be there, sure, but they lost their coordinators. They lost Frank Ragnow at center. There's a lot there that's missing in Detroit. J.J. McCarthy, first-year start. We don't know what that's going to be like. And then Chicago, we just mentioned. So Green Bay has every expectation to get this division. They're going to be right there. The schedule sets up nicely for them. I think they have as good a chance as anybody to take this division.
Yeah, I like the way Green Bay's made up, and I like that they're so young, and that they're growing with Jordan Love, as opposed to like mismatched parts with different free agency pieces and things of that sort. Are we sleeping on the Minnesota Vikings? Because I kind of forgot. Minnesota only lost to Detroit twice last year and the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. And then they went out and had to go play the Rams in the playoffs in the divisional round and lost to them out there. They beat everybody else. Now, I know Sam Darnold was the quarterback last year, and they've got a lot of expectations on J.J. McCarthy, who last time we really saw him, he was winning a national championship at Michigan. But are we sleeping on the Vikings? I think they're over-under for wins. It's like 8 or something like that. And they won, like 14 games last year? Like, am I tripping that we're going really low on the Vikings for some reason? I don't know why. Why do you guys, and I'll just open it up to the whole table, why do you guys think that everyone's sleeping on the Vikings?
JJ. I mean, the quarterback.
Exactly. It's JJ. He's the big quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say sleeping on him, Desmond, more than the fact that we know how I think guys like Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix makes us forget that the quarterback position, I mean, people talk about a project. That's the hardest project there is. So I think for JJ, he got a chance to see what Sam Darnold does. But Sam Darnold, what number team was this for Sam Darnold? He finally found a spot that was able to fit him. What makes Minnesota a team that you should never sleep on is their defense. Everybody wants to talk about, Jordan Love and what he can do with that offense. You talk about Ben Johnson and what he's going to bring to a Caleb Williams. I mean, look no further, right, than John Grenard and those guys on defense. I mean, Harrison Smith, how long has he been doing it? How long has Harrison Smith been the safety for the Minnesota Vikings? And so I think that I would never sleep on the Vikings because, yes, you got a brand new quarterback that missed his entire rookie season, but you have built a culture around that youngin that he can definitely go out there and just not mess it up. Justin Jefferson, right, and Jordan Addison is going to help any quarterback mature. I don't care who you are. Sam Darnold was able to show what he can do when you got elite talent around him. Don't make your quarterback have to win games. Just put in a position that he's not going to lose the game for you. We'll see how much he learned, wearing a ball cap in 2024. But I'm not going to sleep on them Vikings. I think the Purple People Eaters, I think they're going to be in it just like Jordan Love and company, just like Caleb Williams and company. And, hey, man, I think – and like I said, this division is always rich in tradition. But, JJ, if he could just be serviceable, I think Minnesota got a shot to be in this thing.
I mean, they were speaking very highly of him. I remember last preseason before he got hurt, in terms of it looked like they were going to try to start him last year as a rookie, and Darnold wasn't really part of the plans. Now, with Sam Darnold, now, of course, as a Carolina Panther fan and covering the team, I'm pretty familiar with Sam Darnold, and he kind of lucked into a situation where, oh, look, I get to throw it to Justin Jefferson. Like, I'm going to start looking great. So, and it's literally kind of got his bag, was throwing to the number one wide receiver in the NFL for a season. But Rod, your thoughts, do you think that we're sleeping on the Vikings? Like, do you think the Vikings should be talked about a lot more than what we're actually talking about them, considering they won 14 games last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are sleeping on the Vikings, man. I think the Vikings have a heck of a squad. The only piece that they switched out was a quarterback, and that was J.J. McCarthy for Sam Darnold. Or excuse me, other way around. Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy in place of Sam Darnold. And I think that the Vikings have seen something in J.J. McCarthy where they're like, hey, man, we can move on from Sam Darnold because this was our number one pick. in the draft. And so therefore, JJ McCarthy is ready to do his thing. I think that, with the injury that he had and with him sitting out last year, he got to get his mind right in football. And I think I think JJ's going to do great, man. I really do. And then, of course, when you talk about the Brian Flores defense out there with the Vikings, no question about that. Those guys are going to be high pressure. They're going to put some stress on a lot of offenses. And I think, they can win at least 12 games this year, if not more. And I think they're going to give, that division a heck of a run, as far as being the champions of the NFC North. I really do.
And then we've got the curious case of the Detroit Lions, who actually won this division and are loaded, but they actually did it kind of with a banged up defense last year. Aiden Hutchinson got hurt early. They were missing key starters. Is it Detroit's division to lose? And it feels like the trajectory of Detroit, this is like the moment now where they should get to the NFC Championship game and like compete to try to get to the Super Bowl. If you follow how they've built this team over the past 3+ years or whatever, it feels like this is their year to kind of elevate to that level and challenge Philly for the most part for the NFC crown. Does Detroit have enough to challenge Philly for the NFC? Because I feel like it's Philly and everybody else, and I don't see anybody really close to Philly at this point in the NFC in terms of the way they're built offensively, defensively, special teams, skill position, quarterback. Like Philly's almost the most complete team in the league in terms of everywhere, offense and defense. Do you think Detroit has enough to compete with them to win the NFC championship, basically? Because I feel like they're going to win the NFC North. I've moved them up to, can they win the whole conference? Do you think Detroit got enough to win the conference? Ryan, let's start with you on that one.
I mean, they do. My hesitation in your center and act like you're just right.
We are having technical difficulties this morning. Like, I don't know what's going on. Nobody's in the same place. I'm not really sure what's that. Maybe it's that hurricane that came through.
Oh, there we go. There
he is.
Okay, I'm back. Yes, Detroit has the opportunity to definitely do that, but you don't just lose your two coordinators and a center and act like everything's normal again. I think they have the talent, but can the defense stay healthy? Specifically, Aiden Hutchinson, can he stay on the field? And I think the defense will be good. The offensive side of the ball, the offensive line is going to take some time to gel with a new center, and it might even be rookie Tate Rutledge from Georgia. We'll see what happens. But yes, they have the talent. They have the experience that comes with that. But Green Bay and even Minnesota, like Rod said, is going to be challengers in this division.
Ben, your thoughts on that? Can Detroit challenge Philly in the NFC? Forget the NFC North. Can they challenge Philly for the whole dang conference?
They can challenge them. They can challenge them. I think they're good at every position, right? Even the quarterback position. But football, to me, is real similar to boxing. It's not how many fights you had, it's who you fought. Detroit never fought nobody like the Eagles because the Eagles are battle-tested. And the Eagles, unfortunately, have a quarterback that no one likes. And everybody seems to love Jared Goff, and he don't got the resume. Jared Goff, the only thing Jared Goff has that Jalen Hurts has is a Super Bowl loss, right? Jalen Hurts went back and he got a Super Bowl win against the same team. Now, you can't fault Jared Goff for losing the Super Bowl because he didn't have something that Matthew Stafford had, right? And that was Cooper Kupp. If he had Cooper Kupp, who knows? Maybe he has a Super Bowl win against the GOAT. But yes, can Detroit challenge them? Yes. With a healthy Aiden Hutchinson and that pass rush, yes. But here's the thing about Detroit that they never seen with Philly. Philly's won any way you want to do it. They can win ugly. They can win dominant. They can win running away with it. And I think Philly has developed a mentality of they don't care how it looks. They just want to win. And Detroit is one of those teams that's never made it to the Super Bowl. I think if anybody can and will challenge them, it is Detroit. But health will be the factor. If Detroit has a healthy Detroit Lions defense, I think that's going to be the only way they're going to be able to compete with Philly. Because if you take Saquon away, you still got to deal with Jalen. You take Jalen away, you still got to deal with the receivers. I think with Detroit, if you take like an Amon St. Brown away and you make them one-dimensional with that two-headed monster at running back, I think they beat Detroit. But if Detroit comes in healthy and they come in ready, I think they can challenge because, like I said, we are a drive away from the LA Rams being in the Super Bowl. They almost beat Philly, but almost.
That's true.
Don't count in this league. But I think if anybody can, I think it is Detroit.
And we're not talking NFC West, but I'm a little concerned about LA Rams and Matthew Stafford. Like, I don't know exactly what their situation is in terms of Stafford. He's got a bulging disc in his back. That's not something that just kind of heals in 2 days or whatever, it goes away. That's kind of like that's going to be with you probably the rest of your life. Like, that's a situation. So it's like, I don't understand what they're doing at quarterback, because the Rams do feel like they could actually contend in the NFC too if they have the quarterback situation straightened out. And they're not going to find anybody better than Matthew Stafford at this point of the preseason, basically. Like, no one's going to cut a quarterback that they can just, shove in there and go. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do. But, Detroit, it looks like Detroit and Minnesota are going to be battling over this, but don't count out Green Bay. And then I'm reluctant to say Chicago, that won, I think, like 5 games last year, will make a leap all of a sudden and just start contending for this division with the other 3 teams in this division. All 3 of them made the playoffs last year. And I've always joked that Chicago is where quarterback careers go to die. Like, you don't really see an elite quarterback in Chicago, like, ever. Like, it just, I've played this game before, but who's the most famous or the best quarterback in Chicago Bears history?
Jim McMahon.
That's the one I land on. And that was 1985. And I was really like a little 3-year clip, like 84, 85, 86. And then by then it was Mike Tomczak. You know what I mean? And you're going on from there, Doug Flutie, like guys like that. And I was like, Jake Cutler? Like, who was it that took them to the Super Bowl?
Rex Grossman.
Rex Grossman.
Yeah, Rex Grossman.
Like, yeah. I mean, see what I'm saying? Like, the graveyard of quarterbacks in Chicago, it's just like, I always wonder why free agent wide receivers signed with Chicago. Like, when we lost Moose in Carolina and he went to Chicago, it's like, out of all the places to go, why would you go to Chicago? Like, they never have a quarterback that can really throw. And then he eventually came back home. So we'll see with Chicago. I don't think they can take that big of a leap in that division, but to Ben's point, it's the NFL, and every year is different. I feel like sometimes we get caught up on what people did last year, and then we get into the next season and realize last year has nothing to do with this year. Like, all the teams are different. The rosters are different. We're sitting there talking about what the hardest schedule is and this and that, which has always bothered me, because I'm like, we're basing it off of what they did last year, but it's not the same team last year that you're thinking it's going to be hard. So people are looking at, oh, they got to play Kansas City week 5 or Philly week 7 or whatever. That's true. And those are going to be good teams, but they're not the exact teams from last year. So I've never understood the who has the hardest schedule in the NFL this season before we've played a game type stuff. Conor ONeill should be in the bottom of the hour here. Hot Rod Funderburg, Ben Troop, and Ryan Smith in the house here on the Desmond Johnson Show. If you're watching this on Twitter or on YouTube or on our Facebook channels, you can chime in and be part of the show. We'll put your comment down at the bottom of the screen. So if you have a question for the panel or a comment about what we're talking about at the time, just like calling in old school to a radio station, you just type it out with your fingers on the phone. We'll pop it at the bottom and comment on it while we're on live. I wanted to get some Panther news while I had you guys on before Conor comes in. We'll do AFC East after he's out. The biggest news was Panthers guard Taylor Moton getting signed to an extension yesterday. 2-year extension, $44 million, $40 million guaranteed for the guard, one of the stalwarts of the Panthers offensive line. Ryan, I know you do a number of different NFL podcasts for Tobacco Road and for the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, including Inside the Vault, where you had a chance to talk to Anish Shroff this week, I think it was like right after they had signed, and you got a chance to talk to him, who runs the Panthers radio. Well, he's the play-by-play for the Panthers radio network. Your thoughts on the Panthers securing Taylor Moton and what the front office has been doing so far this offseason? I feel like every time I ask my question today, they freeze. There he is. Can you hear it?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Anish was got to talk to him yesterday, right after the game, Friday morning. Talking about Taylor Moton, you will find very few players on the team that are more deserving of this than Taylor Moton. He is a locker room guy. He is a team first guy, very dependable. The Ironman streak obviously ended last year, as we all know, but he is a solid addition for the Carolina Panthers. But glad to see him locked up for 2 more years. A very fair contract, I would say, compared to a lot of tackles in the league for Taylor Moton. He is someone who this offensive line depends on. He's kind of like their glue guy, if you will, there at that right tackle spot. Anish was very high praise regarding Taylor Moton, and just looking forward to this excitement in the 2025 season. He really emphasized to me, if this team, Desmond, you're obviously a fan too, if the team can just go 1-0 to start the season, if we just get off the schneid, if you will, 1-0, I think it will be very big for the city of Charlotte and the North Carolina community if they can just start 1-0. And I know it's one game, but Anish was just saying the alignment and the togetherness, there is excitement, but if they just start 1-0, what would that do for this community if they can just start fast?
Man, I was thinking back to 2015, the 15-1 squad, and how much Charlotte and the state of North Carolina was on fire. Like that whole year, like while the Panthers were doing their thing, like you couldn't go anywhere without somebody talking about the Panthers, wearing Panther gear. And we haven't had that like in a while. Like it's just been kind of like it's like the city is waiting to cheer for something, and there's hasn't been anything to cheer. So I agree with you. Like if they can win just week one, like if they just get week one out of the way and just win that first game, be 1-0 for like the first time in like I don't know, maybe 5+ years, that would be huge for the city of Charlotte.
I want to say 2022 when Sam Darnold came. I think that was
they started 3-0. Yeah,
I think it was 2022 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because I remember Rod. I think we were still doing rundown. I think I compared him to Troy Aikman during that stretch there. I think that's right.
Yeah, I think so because there was a stretch there. You remember we were going. The Panthers would have a great season, then the next season they'd be terrible, and then they'd have the great season right after that, and then the next season they'd be terrible. It was like a stretch where it was like every other season, the Panthers were right on point. So I don't know what happened, and then I think when Tepper took over, it just kind of took a nosedive.
Yeah. The other part I had for the Panthers side of this, as we'll bring Conor ONeill in just a bit. There's some rumblings that the Minnesota Vikings are shaking the leaves on the potential of trading for Adam Thielen, who spent his first 10 years in Minnesota and joined the Panthers last year, 2 years ago, and is in the last year of his contract now with Carolina. Ryan, I saw you raised your hand there. Your thoughts on should the Panthers trade Adam Thielen?
Should they is a tough question. It really just depends on what you can get for him. I think you don't want to get fleeced, as Dan Morgan has been accused of being over the last few years. Scott Fitterer, rather, our former GM. He's a captain. He's a glue guy. He is, as Anish was telling me yesterday, he is the nucleus. He is the development of these younger guys like Jalen Coker, like Ted McMillan, like Xavier Legette. He was telling me yesterday, the guys swear by him. Like, he is the guy. Like, he is a route technician. I'll just read you kind of what he said. His value is in the development of the younger guys. That's essentially what Anish said. And so I think, and now the rumor is the Vikings offered a 4th-round pick for the for Thielen, but Dan wants a 3rd-round pick. Desmond, take that for what you will. But that's the rumor is the Panthers wanted a 3rd-round pick, which they knew the Vikings were never going to give them. But they offered a 4th, and apparently the Panthers turned it down. So
let me ask you that. Should the Panthers trade Adam Thielen?
If you can get what you want for him, yeah. Like if I get what I want for him, yeah, because sometimes people don't understand what value of a player is. We think the value of a player is what he brings to the team. Well, sometimes what you bring to the team is another player. That's your value. You might not want that to be your value, but think about Adam Thielen for a second. Adam Thielen first year, he was 33 years old. He caught 103 passes at 33. Now last year he was only there with 10 games, had 48 catches. Xavier Legette, Ted McMillan, Jimmy Horn Jr. Those guys are going to learn how to play the position because of Adam Thielen. You don't think Stephon Diggs benefited from Adam Thielen? You don't think Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison benefited from him? The thing about Adam Thielen, when you want a big, fast, strong, elusive receiver, he's none of those things. But he come wide open because he understands how to get open. So if you could get what you want for him, yeah, you trade him. But I think right now with Dan Morgan, he's trying to earn his stripes as a GM. If you letting people fleece you, that's what you're going to be known for. You could tell Dan Morgan anything. Well, I think Dan is saying we value Adam more than what you guys think. Like I told Smitty earlier, if I get drafted in the 2nd round, I had 1st-round talent. If I get drafted in the 3rd, I had 2nd-round talent. So if I can get a 3rd-rounder, he's potentially a 2nd-round type talent. And if I could get a 3rd-rounder for a 35-year-old or 34, 35-year-old, that's doing it. Because sometimes I got to let my team know I'm doing what's best for the team. Adam Thielen been in the league long enough to know, hey, man, I'm at the twilight of my career. I get it. You guys gave me a 3-year deal, and I more than lived up to it. But if I could get you a 3rd round and I can end up staying in the same house I was living in for 10 years in Minnesota, then so be it. But a 4th rounder, I think what Dan is telling Minnesota, while y'all think that's fair, we know what Adam really is. We know what he meant to y'all, and we know what he means to us. I can't give him up for a 4th.
Yeah, he does still have a house in Minnesota. Real quick, Rod, do you think the Panthers should trade Thielen, considering the situation? For the first time maybe ever, this might be the most loaded wide receiver room they've had. They've got a good 7-8 guys that are up for 6 or 7 spots. So there is kind of room. And they do have Hunter Renfrow on the roster where he could just slide right into that slot position. But again, to Ben and Ryan's points, the experience that Thielen brings to a room or to the roster itself, the offense with Bryce Young there, maybe you don't trade him because of that experience that you would have through the year. What would you do if you're Dan Morgan in Carolina? Would you strip off Adam Thielen?
Well, I'm gonna have a tendency to agree with what Ben just said. It's like my dad said, man. Hey, experience is the best teacher. In this case, Thielen has a heck of a lot of experience at that wide receiver position that he can pass on to the younger guys. But like Ben said, if you can get what you want for Thielen, sure, trade him. But if you're not going to be able to get what you want, the value that Thielen brings to your team, the value that he brings to the young guys, the experience that he can teach and give to those young guys, man, you got to let him do some development with those Panther players. And because what the Panthers have to do is they have to get back on the map. The Panthers have been off the map for a long time. And if you've got a piece like Thielen that can help your young guys to get better and help elevate the rest of this team, at least that wide receiver room, you've got to keep him around as much as you can, unless you get the value that's needed, or maybe even the value of a little bit more than what he brings to your team. But right now, I'd say no. For what they were offered, no, don't trade them. Hold on to them. Keep them in that
So
wide receiver
consensus.
room.
Yeah, it seems consensus to hold on to him.
Really quick, the other thing I see, and Ben, as a former player, you can probably chime into this too. The other thing I see people saying though, which is all valid, they agree with those points. But then some people are saying, well, at some point, our young guys have to be able to get more snaps, and they have to be able to take that next step. So trading Thielen kind of helps that. What do you say on that, Ben?
I mean, force-fed players don't get better. You just feed them more. That don't make you get better just because you get more playing time. If I don't know what I'm doing, it's gonna get exposed. Quarterbacks, look at the quarterbacks. They throw them out so early just because they got drafted high. Drafted high mean I was one of the best players in college and I got drafted high to a bad team. And while it can work, that can't be a recipe for success. I'd rather look. You see why Jordan Love was good? Because he waited 3 years. Why was Phillip Rivers good? Because he waited 2 years. Why was a guy like Aaron Rodgers? Because he waited. There is nothing wrong with waiting.
Pat Mahomes side of
Pat Mahomes. Yeah. So I think while you have those guys that are ready right out of college, they're still a rare breed. With Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Look at how good he is no matter what team he's on. Because Adam told him, I mean, this is how you do it. A receiver that doesn't have the physical gifts is going to be better players because he can't rely on something he don't got. Xavier Legette got gifts. Ted got gifts. Jimmy Horn got gifts. Don't be nothing if you can't get open. Adam is saying, run a route, not run fast. Football is starting and stopping, misdirections and all that. That's what Adam is showing them. He's saying, dude, you think I got to the career I got because I'm a 6'5", 230. I look like, I'm a white guy to play receiver in the NFL and I get open, right? I'm a Jordy Nelson, but I'm not Jordy Nelson, right? Yeah. And he's very, very, and I think he's very, very effective. I think what Adam is telling them, coach, he ain't ready yet. If a player tell a coach a player ain't ready, they're going to listen more because coaches, they think if we just get them more snaps. J.C. Horn was out there jamming them boys up and making them look crazy, right? Yeah. And I'm telling you the reason why that happens is because J.C. Horn goes, dude, you think you fast. Yeah, I'm going to make you run a route. And when you have to run a route, why was Steve Smith Sr. good? Because of Musa. Musa Muhammad told him. And that stuff had mentors help players become who they become if they truly honest about it.
That's a great point. That's a great point. So I think we're kind of stuck on keeping Thielen, which is a good thing. He's probably the most reliable target that Bryce Young has. The Panthers will be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in about 2 weeks. And if you're Panther fans, keep your fingers crossed that history will repeat itself because we've got that situation going on.
We are going into this. We went into this so much, Desmond.
Yeah, buddy.
I have heard this. I have heard this for the last almost a month.
It's going down, dude. It's happening.
Smitty say if y'all win against Jacksonville, it just happens to be in San Francisco, which is where y'all were in 2015. Listen. You are not a real fan if you ain't superstitious. We are superstitious as it comes when it comes to fans.
Shout out to J-Lo for divorcing Ben Affleck to keep this thing going because that had to happen for this to work. Ohio State made it work by winning the national championship. When Ohio State wins national championship, J-Lo gets divorced, and we open up in Jacksonville. We make the Super Bowl. So we're going to see what happens. It's happened twice before, and it's about to happen again. So we'll see what it is. But we got Conor ONeill in the back here. We're going to bring him in, Devil and Deacon's Illustrated publisher, Conor ONeill. And Conor, we're previewing the ACC Big Four, and nothing real heavy here. Just some toss-up questions here regarding the Devils and the Demon Deacons. What's going on, brother? How you doing, man?
Not much. I'm doing well. If I was Dan Morgan, I'd trade Adam Thielen for a third-round pick today.
Get him out of here.
Vikings ain't going to give him that, though.
So, all right, I want to start off. Me and Rod, we do, of course, a lot of high school football here in the area, so we get a chance to see a lot of kids from some of the schools, especially East Forsyth, that where our home school is, go off to these ACC Big Four schools. We know kids that are over at NC State right now, over at Duke right now, over at Carolina right now, over at Wake right now. Is this Duke team, Conor, good enough to make the college football playoff? Because they won 9 games last year, and because I know their schedule and everything else, and they've got a lot of smoke around them, which is odd for a Duke football team. But it feels like the expectations are higher than normal in Durham for this year. What are your thoughts on this Blue Devil team, and can they contend? Can they actually maybe possibly navigate a way to the college football playoff?
Sorry about that. I went in and out there.
Did you hear Mark? Something's been weird with the internet all day with all of us. Like, I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe it's the hurricane disrupting lines across the Atlantic or something.
Basically asking if Duke is good enough to make the CFP
college football playoff. Yeah. And he froze. See, there it is. Okay, can you hear us now?
Yep.
Okay. Do you think they can make the college football playoff?
I'll tell you what. They think they can. I'm not sure. I have questions about their depth, their offensive line in particular. I know that's the hot button topic everybody wants to talk about when you talk season previews is offensive line depth, right? Look, they had a quarterback throw for 26 touchdowns last year, and they feel like they upgraded at the position. And it's hard to think they didn't upgrade at the position because Malik Murphy, for as good of a passer as he was pretty much a statue in the pocket. They brought in Darian Mensah to make their offense more dynamic. And I think he's done that. Now, we just have to see it in a game. And I think their defense is going to be about the same as it was last year. And if it's any better, then they're going to be really, really good. I mean, they were second in the nation in tackles for loss per game last year. You can be a really good football team in college if you make the offense go backward and turn them over. So it's not the easiest schedule. They did not get a good bounce with the schedule format. They've got this weird 3-week stretch in October where they're going to have 2 off weeks. They've got extreme road trips in back-to-back weeks, going up to Syracuse one week and then going out to California in the next week. But I think this Duke team can be really, really good. And I think they're coming out of their fall camp telling us they don't have any significant injuries. They feel like they like what they've seen from Darian Mensah over the last 3 to 4 weeks. I think they're a dark horse CFP team out of the ACC.
That sounds so weird. It sounds so weird to me to be talking about Duke football in this manner. Before I turn over to the panel for questions about Duke, I got to ask for me and Rod, how's our boy Q doing? Quayshawn Brown, the wide receiver who starred here at East Forsyth, and it looks like he's about to take a leap. I was going to ask you what player on offense and defense do you expect to take a huge leap this year, but I'm just going to cut to it. Do you think it can be Q? Because it seems like Sean Brown is actually kind of starting to make a name for himself in these scrimmages and the stuff that's going on right now. Every time I see something about Duke, I'm seeing him pop up. Your thoughts on Quayshawn?
No, I absolutely think this is going to be a big season for him. Darian Mensah actually told me the other day that he's one of the first people at Duke that really he bonded well with, meshed well with. And when you're telling me that about a redshirt sophomore receiver that had some decent games last year, I start thinking ahead to and Duke is replacing their top 2 receivers off last year's team. Jordan Moore and Eli Pankel are both gone. So there's targets and catches to go around at Duke. And I think Quayshawn is in line for a big bump. He's going to get the ball in a lot of short passes, screen games, that type of stuff. But he also showed last year that he could make plays down the field. So there's two guys on Duke's offense that I'm kind of looking at in the skill positions that they could take big steps forward. One is a running back named Peyton Jones, and the other one is Quayshawn.
Anybody got any questions regarding Duke football from the panel?
I mean, Darian Mensah, that's their QB, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He's really making $4 million this year.
So that's the interesting question. My reporting, my sourcing has said the only way he gets to $4 million is if he basically wins the Heisman.
So like incentive based.
Yeah, it's performance and incentive based.
Smart,
I do think the healthy estimate is he's making at least between 3 and 3.5 mil just to go out there and play 12 games.
So he's gonna make $3 million, period. Like, and I'm not mad at the young man. I just saw that when I was looking at NIL projections these days, and I thought it was gonna be Arch Manning, and you got the young man up there at Michigan. I said, is this Duke basketball? This is Duke football making $4 million? Yeah, hey man, shout out to that whoever's representing that young man. Congratulations, you got you a good one.
But he was the top quarterback in the transfer portal, right?
Yeah, everybody had different rankings. I mean, the guy the guy that left Washington State after or before Jake Dickert left and went to Oklahoma, John Mateer, I think was tops on other people's lists. Here's the thing: my kind of pet peeve about NIL reporting. Everybody has every incentive to lie, and nobody has any incentive to be transparent with it. It's not public record. So agents want the bigger numbers out there because then they can go to other players and say, this is what I'm getting my guy. The coaches want big numbers out there because then everybody's talking about your program being able to pay X amount of money. The players want big numbers out there because it's an ego thing. Like, you want to be able to say, hey, I'm making this much money. And nobody has to actually tell us what they're making because it's not collectively bargained and it's not the NFL.
Yeah. The toothpaste is out the bottle at this point. Like, you can't go backwards with it, but it's still strange. We're that weird generation that still remembers rotary phones, but now we're in this world where college players get paid. So it's like, it's hard to kind of like put them side by side and recognize, like, okay, this guy's worth this amount. This guy's worth this many millions, like this and that. It's a new world. It's a brand new world. You mentioned Jake Dickert in Washington State. Now he's the head coach at Wake Forest. Deacons and Devils Illustrated publisher Conor ONeill joining us here for a quick Wake Forest and Duke ACC Big Four preview. What are your first impressions of him? By now, you've talked to him. You've been to press conferences. You've seen him at practices. What is the biggest difference you think between him and former Wake Forest head coach Dave Clawson, who
going in and out again?
Yeah. I don't know what is going on with the internet today. It's crazy. Like, everybody else I can hear just fine, but everyone else is like in and out, in and out, in and out. What is the biggest difference between Dave Clawson and new head coach Jake Dickert?
The energy of the program is it's completely different. It's shifted. It had to, and I've said this a couple times already in the last few months. Dave Clawson did a lot of things at Wake Forest that people thought could not be accomplished in this day and age of college football. Taking an 11-win team to the Gator Bowl and winning, and getting to the ACC championship game, establishing some success, getting to 7 straight bowl games. But over the last 2 years, the energy got stale, and that's reflected in back-to-back 4-8 records. That's reflected in, I think it's 3-15 or 3-13 in the ACC. It's just, this program needed to kind of have new life pumped into it. And that has happened. Everybody that goes to a Wake Forest practice in the last 3 weeks has said the energy is completely different. And the one thing they all point to first is the music that plays throughout the entire practice. And so there's a little bit more life around the practice field. There's a little bit more, to borrow, I'm sure Wake fans will hate this, but to borrow a Coach K word that he used often, there's a little more verve to it out there. Like, there's just more energy, more excitement to be out there and practicing. Whether that leads to more wins on the field, I have no idea. I have major questions about their quarterback play. I have major questions about whether their defense is actually going to be good. I fall for this every year where I look at them in fall camp and think their defense is going to be good. Then we get into the season, it's like, oh, they can't stop anybody. But just talking energy and feeling around the program, it's just a vibe change. It feels younger. It feels more energetic. It feels more anxious to actually go play football, practice football, do everything relate like meetings and that kind of stuff. Just feels like it's a vibe shift for the better.
It's crazy too, because Wake had a stretch with Clawson where they'd kind of figured out how to navigate college football without having to play with the big boys, so to speak, in terms of the recruiting and stuff. He was getting like 3-star kids and redshirting them pretty much right off the bat. So he'd always have like 5-year seniors playing pretty much. And that was kind of the formula. So they couldn't go get that top 5-star recruit, but they could bring a 3-star in, build him up over 4 or 5 years. And by the time he's a senior, he's a top offensive lineman or running back or whatever it is. And they were able to succeed and actually have some double-digit win seasons and bowl games and all kinds of stuff, compete for the ACC championship. I feel like that's gone away now with NIL. Like you can't really do that anymore. And I feel like Wake, if I'm not mistaken, Wake was the smallest school in FBS, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of pop or whatever. So I don't know what's going to happen with Wake. I'm curious to see, like, because with Dicker, it's going to be a whole different approach from what we're used to seeing here in Winston-Salem with the way Wake has built football teams over the past decade or so. It's a whole different approach. So yeah, it's almost like you're entering you're entering a brand new chapter in Wake Forest football. And it's just curious to see how they're going to be. Do you have them kind of like towards the bottom of the league, middle of the league? Like, I don't see them contending for an ACC championship spot or anything like that, but how competitive do you will be?
I think this is a 6-6 team. I think, look, their non-conference schedule is abysmal from a standpoint of being easy. Like they're playing an FCS team, one team that's in the middle of an FCS to FBS transition in Delaware. They're playing another one that just finished the 2-year transition period in Kennesaw State. That's who they have this week. And then their toughest non-conference game is going out to Oregon State, which last year they bought out a trip to Ole Miss and chose to go to Corvallis instead. So it's set up like this is a non-conference that an ACC team should go 4-0, no matter how many new players they have, no matter new coaching staff, everything. Like this is a cakewalk of a non-conference schedule.
So if they don't go 4-0, we should be like panic, danger. Like this is
sound the alarm. I mean, maybe they lose at Oregon State. It's a road game. It's across the country. Malik Murphy's Oregon State's quarterback. I know he can throw the hell out of the ball. It's going to be inaccurate and he's going to be inconsistent for a 4-quarter game, but he can hurt you sometimes through the air. I mean, I don't think Wake's ACC schedule is that bad. I think, you look at, you're going to have 4 ACC road games, and 2 of their road games in the ACC are at Virginia and at Virginia Tech. And Virginia Tech's not an easy place to win. Yeah. I don't think very much of either one of those coaches. Like they're both going into 4th years. They're both going into like show me years, or they're going to be fired with Brent Pry and Tony Elliott. So Wake winning one of those 2 games, I think is a pretty realistic chance. And then we all know weird things happen when NC State comes to Winston-Salem. And that's a Thursday night game in week 3. That's September 11th. And so I look at that and, if they win one of the 2 trips up to the Commonwealth and continue this weird mastery of NC State when they come to Winston-Salem and go 4-0 in the non-con, that's 6 wins. And look, we're not talking about Wake Forest the same way that we're talking about even the other 3 Tobacco Road schools. Like Duke, Carolina, and NC State can all talk about, on varying scales of realisticness, getting to Charlotte in that first weekend of December. Wake doesn't have to talk about that. Wake has to talk about making a bowl, getting to feel good about themselves for not going 4-8 again, and kind of build from there. And that's what this season's all about.
I'm going to pivot real quick. I'm going to keep Conor on because we're at the bottom. We're near the top of the hour. We're almost out of time. So we're not going to have time to do the AFC East preview. But while I have you here, because this kind of affects you too, there was something that happened over this past week that I wanted to get the opinion of everybody on the panel on. because it's huge news, and it's the ESPN direct-to-consumer switch, because it does affect everybody here in some way, shape, or form. Connor, the ACC network now available on ESPN Unlimited. There is no sweeter feeling in the world than going into your Sling account and canceling it because you don't need it anymore. Because I was using Sling for ESPN and ACC network to get to it, and I was looking at the other day, I'm paying $58 a month basically for Sling, and the only thing I use on it is ESPN, access to the ACC network, and CNN for like news and stuff, and then like Friends reruns on TBS or whatever. But I've got all that already. Like HBO Max has CNN and Friends and all that stuff on there. I already had some of this stuff from other things. Guys, thoughts on this? Because I already, as soon as they made it available, within like 20 minutes of me waking up, I'm like putting it on and signing up for the $30 a month for the unlimited, which gets me everything that I was already paying money on random apps for already. Good idea, bad idea for it. Are you getting it? The ESPN Unlimited package is basically everything they offer. SEC Network, ACC Network, WWE, PLEs, all the studio shows they normally do, all their original programming, like 30 for 30, like everything. It's all going to be just in this thing for $30 a month. Thoughts on what ESPN is finally doing direct to consumer, where before you had to go to cable or something just to have ESPN? Who here has already switched? That's probably my best question. Who here has already switched to ESPN Unlimited? Anyone?
I've already. No, you can go ahead, Connor.
Right.
I think I saw that Spectrum. I might be one of the only people with an actual cable package anymore, but I think I saw that Spectrum has some hookup where you can get ESPN the package through your Spectrum deal.
Yeah,
so it should be good if I just click through something and activate something on the website. I haven't done it yet, but
pretty much. And it's kind of because I don't need Hulu because Disney's buying Hulu basically, and they've already absorbed it into Disney Plus. But you can't really cancel Hulu because it's kind of free at this point. They're just kind of bundling it with Disney and ESPN. Ben, you were about to say, you said you already switched over?
Yeah, I already switched. I mean, it's almost like my wife will understand why I want my shampoo and my body wash to be the same. I don't want to buy two things. Like when you put it in your hair and on your back. I'm a guy, man. Like we are the simplest people. We guess what? You know how many people don't even know they got all that stuff? They were like, oh, they got ACC, so ACC, SEC, right, and all this. Yeah. And I'm surprised. I think it's funny that ESPN let all these companies get all this stuff going. We finna take all this. Like we're gonna one-stop shop this thing, and that ESPN is a monopoly. We act like it is. They want it all. They'll let you go out there and have it for a couple of years because they know you don't have the money we have. Mm-hmm. And to put it all. Listen, it's a
Disney
ESPN,
money. Yeah.
Listen, man. It's a ACC network, SEC network soup. Throw it all in there together. I think I can taste it. Yeah, my wife don't get it. She was just like another subscription because my wife going through the cable bill like this, like you paying $15, I can't get it, and I'm a Falcons fan, so it's not like I'm worrying about blackouts. I get to see my Falcons all the time now.
I didn't even mention NFL Network and Red Zone are going to be on ESPN also, and in exchange, the NFL is getting like 10% stake of ESPN for doing it or whatever. So now I was locked out of NFL Network, so I didn't want to pay the extra on the Sling package just to have it, and now I'm going to get it just for paying the $30 a month I was already doing. I've been seeing WWE fans more complaining about this than anyone else. I got to pay $30 a month to watch these pay-per-views or whatever. It wasn't that long ago. You're paying like $65 for each one, like on pay-per-view, like format or whatnot. And now the whole paradigm's kind of shifting because Paramount Plus is going to have all the UFC stuff, and they're going to put some of that on CBS. The main ones, the big four, are going to be on CBS primetime, and the other smaller pay-per-view ones are going to be on Paramount Plus, eliminating the pay-per-view model. But again, Red Zone, NFL Network's going to be on this too. Ryan, are you switching over? I assume everybody here eventually is going to switch over or have some sort of access to it.
Yeah, I have YouTube TV currently at the moment, so that's certainly something I'm considering for sure. I mean, I got on YouTube TV pretty early, so I've got a pretty good deal.
Oh, you're probably locked in on something,
yeah. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, definitely something I'm considering for sure. It's definitely a good package, like Ben said, kind of all fits all in one thing for sure.
So Des, I guess you could say I kind of been rolling with the Sopranos for a little while, man. And the reason that I say that is about 3 years ago, man, I hooked up with some cats who were from out of town, and they dealt directly. They dealt directly in TV and things like that, man. So what I did was I paid $275 one time. And for the last 3 years, and it hadn't gone out on me yet, I've had the NFL Network, the Red Zone, ACC Network, SEC Network, all the ESPNs, pay-per-views, all the Showtimes, all the HBOs, all the Encores, all the Stars. I've had that for $275 for the last 3 years, my man, and it's still rocking and rolling on me. So right now, I'm not moving from what I have because I have everything I need.
Do they
I've heard
travel?
about
I mean, do they travel? I mean, I'm just saying. I
Like a
mean, I
little
don't.
box
Hey,
or
well,
something?
listen. I'm not a connected guy, but I can make a connection if you need it.
I'm just saying. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say. Who is it? I'm gonna say. Hot Rod sent me. This,
Yeah,
That's all you gotta say, baby. And
this is
they'll
open.
come
You know.
see you.
These are open airways we are talking on, and we are talking about cable only.
Yeah,
That's all we're
cable.
talking
Listen,
about.
if you have the internet, if you can have access to the internet, you can take this anywhere you go. You go out of town to the beach, you go over to Paris to vacation a little bit. Take it with you. You got everything you need. They even have channels that I have not heard of. They have listen, they even have Filipino channels. They have Afghanistan channels. Whatever you
What do
need,
you
they
have?
have
What
it.
is- I'm gonna talk to you Friday about that when I see you. We got to get out of here. We're up against it. We will be back Tuesday with a brand new episode. David Glenn will be joining me, and we'll talk about the best things we saw this weekend. Shout out to Conor ONeill for jumping by. Check out Deacons and Devils Illustrated with him as we get to the ACC and college football season starts this upcoming weekend, and then NFL right after that. So we are finally here. Football season's finally arrived. So everybody rejoice. We'll be back on Tuesday.